So I've been a founder of a few startups, and I was always a non-technical founder. So I was always close to the developers and helping with the product, but I always sort of wished that I could program and write some code and help them out with that. So for a long time, I got very familiar with all the no-code tools and just everything on the product and design and non-developer side of things. But then only a few years ago, I think it's almost 3 years now, did I become technical and did I learn to code. And I got really lucky too that while I started to learn to code and finally while I was getting the hang of things a little bit, AI came out of nowhere and like boosted that 10x and made me like a good developer all of a sudden and made the learning curve also much, much faster. So the way I think about it is at heart, I'm very much like a non-technical person. So I very much understand the like non-technical perspective and I very much appreciate tools in AI. But now I spend a lot of time building things and writing code and especially AI assisted writing code. So yeah, that's kind of like the way I think about how I do work.
Love it. And so tell us a little bit about your startup. So what does it do? You guys are like a educational game studio, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting. So we design these games that are team games that students play on a team. They could play it in a classroom. We run an online program, so they join a Zoom and we match them up in teams, and then they play these team strategy math games. So in these games, in one of them, they're running like a mining company, and they're reading all these charts and future prices of mining ore, and they're making decisions with their team to essentially win the game. There's another one that's an investment one, and there's all these types of games that we've developed. So yeah, but it's weird because on one hand we're a game studio, like we design these games, and then on the other side we also run a program. So we're almost like two companies kind of mushed together.
Yeah, that makes sense. And this is super interesting. And we're gonna get to this in a little bit, but I wanted to ask, how would you say AI has affected your company?
I think that the main way is essentially we've been able to stay bootstrapped and we've been able to keep the team small while still running a game studio and growing or running a program. So, like I said, it's kind of like two companies in one, and there's only really three, four of us, depending, some part-time contractors. So it's a very small team, yet we managed to run classes, run a program, do all the marketing that is required to run this program, while at the same time running a game studio that we've built. We built more than these, but we have 5 games that we use as part of our program right now. And yeah, to do that without AI, I don't think we'd be able to. We would have had to either raise money or hire more employees. So in that sense, like we either couldn't exist or the company would have to look completely differently without AI.
Yeah, it's really interesting, Felipe, and the reason I was very excited to chat with you is I've always been impressed at how much you guys are able to do with a small team. So, like you said, you're a handful of people, but you act like a company of maybe 30 or 40, heck, maybe even 50 people, because not only are you putting kids through this cohort based learning. So not only is it a program and you're dealing with customer support and relationships with parents who obviously want to communicate a lot and learn how their kids are doing, but you're also building games and you're building multiple games and you're building new ones and tweaking, and you're doing all of this with a handful of people. Again, it would have taken like a 50% company to do what you guys do. And I really look at you guys as being this modern company, right? So really built with AI, from the ground up. And I do see that more and more companies are going to act and behave like yours does. And so this is why I was very excited to chat with you to learn more about how you guys have incorporated AI into all aspects of the company. Everything at Quest. One of the things I know you mentioned to me in passing, which I thought was super interesting, was the way that you guys prototype games now. Because, maybe you can talk about, in the past, how you might have created a prototype for a game, and today how you would create a prototype for a game.
Yeah, wow, yeah, that's something we think a lot about. So in the past, you would have had to spend a lot of time sort of thinking up the game and prototyping the game on pen and paper on a whiteboard or like a Figma. And you really would have had to make sure that the like mechanics and the core of the game was good before you started developing it. because once you started developing it, that was going to take a significant amount of time. And what used to be known as, and probably still is, but we don't really even think about it like that anymore, as like engineering time, which is like this super valuable, like resource that tech companies have. So that's the way it used to be done. So you used to have to spend a lot of time prototyping it, thinking about it, making sure that once it starts being built, like everything is streamlined and optimized. Now we're so much more laissez-faire about engineering time, meaning we just will build things when we have an idea and just prototype them, because it only takes an hour or two to prototype a game that you can play, that is like written in code. So what's crazy is we've been talking about this more and more lately, where it's actually faster to prototype the game than to design the game. As in, like, the AI is better at writing code, at least the way we use it, than to come up with like mock-ups or like wireframes of games. So it's completely shifted from a lot of planning, a lot of thinking, to kind of just getting your hands dirty right away and testing things. And it's so much faster and so much better to build things, because like no matter how much planning and how much prototyping and how much wireframing you did for games, it was never at the end the way you expected it to be. So now it's so much more realistic, because you build it and you realize right away after half an hour, oh, actually this game mechanic that I thought was going to be really good is not interesting at all, or there's some flaws, or we have to think about it much more. So it's much faster, and it's also just much more enjoyable to build games, because you're getting this very quick feedback loop.
Yeah, again, huge difference. So, maybe it would have taken you weeks potentially to test a concept. You maybe talk to people, show some designs, maybe prototype some things. And now, what would you say? Like, in theory, you could have a prototype within a day?
Yeah, a prototype within half a day. To still have like a quality game, or to have a kind of like the first version of a game that's playable that we can give to students, it still takes a couple days, but not longer than a week. But the prototype, like something that you can test like internally, that we can test with our employees, that we can test ourselves, that's a few hours, which is, kind of mind-blowing.
I mean, all of it is mind blowing, not just like the prototype part, but even the way that you said it, you're like, well, if it's going to be a game that we're going to let other people test, then it might take a couple of days. And you said it like, oh my God, a couple of days is so long. But, in reality, this stuff would have taken, weeks, maybe a few months. To get it to that stage. So again, I hope everybody is listening in. Your mind is as blown as mine is, but this is how, again, modern companies are now operating, and Felipe's company is such a good example of this. The other thing I wanted to ask about is, so this is about, some of the ways that AI has affected Quest and how you guys utilize AI. But let's talk about yourself. For you, how has AI impacted the way that you work on a day-to-day basis?
I actually do a lot of the programming and the building the games. It's just something I'm really passionate about. I should probably, as a CEO, do less of it, but I just enjoy it so much that I do spend a lot of time on Cursor and then Replit a lot for prototyping as well. And like we were just saying, it saves me days of work all the time. And another fun thing actually that I've recently just started doing is using Super Whisper, which is essentially a voice to text kind of app. And I found myself in the last couple of weeks and couple of days specifically talking to my computer much more. And I already, maybe this is going way beyond the question, but I'm already imagining months from now, maybe a year or two from now, going on a walk and talking to my AI agents, my AI software developing AIs, and just having conversations with them about, the prototype or the game that we're building, and then kind of coming back from a walk and a game being done. And it already feels like that a little bit, because sometimes I'll just be standing or chatting with this Super Whisper, which is just like me talking to the AI, and it's building things. And it's not uncommon that I don't write a single line of code within an hour, and I've been just talking to this AI for an hour, and then like, there's a game prototype or like a new feature of a game that we already have or whatever, that's really fun.
So I have a thought on this, but before I go there, what is Super Whisper? So is it just something that translates whatever you're saying into text so that you could prompt it into Cursor?
Yeah, that's all it is. But then Cursor obviously has their like Cursor agent, which is like their AI that writes code. So it very much feels like I'm talking to the agent, even though like Super Whisper is really just transcribing my voice,
Mhm.
but it feels like I'm talking to this agent now just because how good and fast it is.
Yeah, and so do you still have to like click into a field in Cursor and then speak to it and then it'll just fill it into the text field?
So my shortcut automatically puts it into the field, and then I yes have to press enter just for it to enter. Although I'm sure there's a way I can make it so that it detects silence and then automatically enters. Like I'm sure there's ways to optimize that whole setup.
Yeah, you know what's really interesting is so my daughter, I recently got her to play with Replit and Lovable as well, and she's 8, so
Hmm.
she's not very good at typing just yet, and she's better at speaking, and so I also noticed that, and I hadn't discovered this until I needed to discover it, and working with her is that on Macs you also have a dictation
Yeah,
button that
yeah.
you can press. So is this better than the? I guess it just works better than the dictation button on a Mac.
Yeah, it's better and it's faster. Yeah, more accurate. Yeah, Super Whisper is like the best one. It actually only works on Mac, so I think there's some like Windows alternatives, but that Super Whisper is really good. But actually, the Mac stuff is not bad. I was using that before. I see it right in front of me. F5 is not bad, but Super Whisper is better.
Yeah. It was a little buggy when, yeah, it's not perfect, but yeah, I assume like Super Whisper's a lot better. The thought I had, which is just around, I also do think that we are going to enter a world where we will do much more conversational interfaces with our I guess like with the software that we use. And so it just made me think that in an office setting, typically, if you wanted to do a lot of talking, typically, you're talking to other people, so you might go into a meeting room to have that kind of conversation. But if everybody's going to be interacting with their computers more with voice, it actually makes the whole work from home thing a lot more like practical too, because presumably you can speak the whole day and you're not bugging anybody, and that might actually be an additional thing that gets factored in. Even for people who do go into offices, that might be something that gets factored into. Oh, everybody's going to be talking all the time, so we need to almost design these offices potentially more like call centers, so that people can talk and everybody's talking all at the same time, and it doesn't bug each person. And so, yeah, even the concept of what an office looks like might change in the future.
Ironically, we might go back to cubicles or something.
I
You know what I
know
mean?
we're gonna trap ourselves. It's crazy. So the other thing that I wanted to also chat about is that you didn't start as being a technical founder, but you pivoted into being a technical founder. And I think and you were saying how much more accelerated your learning has been because of AI. Do you want to talk to that a little bit? And the reason I say that is because a lot of people would love to be more technical, right? And they want to take that leap, but it just, obviously it requires a lot of work and a lot of dedication, and maybe it's become a little bit easier, for those who are motivated to do it.
Yeah, the way I think about it is a non-technical person right now, just with enough motivation, can essentially build like anything. Not just because of tools like Lovable and Replit that will literally write the code for you, but just because you have this like almost army of different agents now. So you could have like your Replit agent, your Cursor agent, and then you can have your ChatGPT Pro agent, which I think more and more people will start thinking about it as an agent. Because when I look at like good developers, or even the way I use it, is you have your like Cursor or Replit kind of like development agent here, and like your code that's being written here, and you're not even writing it; it's like writing it for you. And then like you have your sort of like co-pilot partner on the side. And what a lot of people do is like, so let's say you're trying to set up some complicated database, and you have no idea what you're doing. Well, you can just chat with the ChatGPT Pro and tell it like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do, and it'll run you through everything. And like that's usually not enough, because you're like, you get so confused. You can give it a screenshot of the database and it will tell you exactly what to press. And you can just give it like 20 screenshots back to back to back, and it will every single time will just tell you, okay, now click this, now click that. So you can literally have it describe to you anything you want. It's so good. Give it screenshots, and I'm sure in like 6 months to a year, you won't even give it to you won't even need to give it screenshots. It will just be watching your like desktop and telling you what to do and kind of talking to you like a real human. So we're already there. It's just things are still a little bit clunky. Like you need to take a screenshot and give it to it. But like, okay, so what? Like you can still build amazing tools in a week or two or three without being technical at all. So we're like fully in the like world of like motivation and like desire and wanting to build something is all that matters. And yeah, you can do anything technical now just by
Yeah, and it's interesting. So, Cursor maybe doesn't have like a native way to read your screen yet, but tools like Google's AI Studio, now it can ingest your screen and it can do things like that. Like you mentioned, to watch over you. It's almost like you have this tutor that's watching what you're doing at all times, and whenever you have a question, you can get an immediate answer, right? And so this is the stuff that would make learning harder. So if you only had like an hour or two a day and you wanted to devote that to learning to be more technical, to learn how to code, these are the things that would get in the way, right? You need an answer to a question, and then you got to find a way to answer it. But now you can get instant answers, so it really accelerates this idea of learning. So that's another cool thing. And the other thing I wanted to mention, because I know that you guys also do a little bit of this, and maybe this will kind of segue into the show and tell portion, is that even from a customer support perspective, you guys are using AI as well, right?
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I've actually built a bunch of different tools, some on Replit. We started off with some custom GPT ones and some Zapier ones. So we've really tried everything. But yeah, we do a lot of customer support. Actually, something that's really interesting is we've essentially gotten rid of most of our, like we got rid of our HubSpot, of our MailChimp, of a lot of these tools and replaced them with like very simple Zapier or like AI flows. But yeah, we do a lot with AI, and it saves us a ton of money now because HubSpot and these things are and Mailchimp are crazy expensive.
Yeah, I mean, that's an important one as well. I just want to emphasize that more and more I'm hearing people are replacing various tools, and definitely heard that on different episodes as well here, which is, I was paying 20, 30K for this tool, and now we replace it because we create something internally using AI. So this is a narrative that's starting to become a lot more common. And certainly for cases where you don't need all of the features of certain tool, it won't be the case always. But for the stuff where you're really only using like 20% of a product, and you particularly need a given workflow, we're now at the point that you can build stuff like that internally. So let's jump into the show and tell. So what is the first thing that you want to show today?
Yeah, so like I said, I built a bunch of tools like in different kind of like levels of complexity. The like main marketing ones and outbound ones are like a bit more like proprietary, I guess. But one that I thought was really interesting to show because it's something that anybody can set up really quickly is, and it's not just specific to like education or like our company. It's just like an email responder, and I just built it on Zapier or Zapier. I actually don't even know how to say it. I think
It's Zapier, yeah.
Zapier is the way, yeah, the
Yeah.
way, head of engineering at our event said it. So we must trust him. So anyway, should I share my screen? So let's actually start by having you send me an email. And it could be anything, but let's just say maybe you are like a prospective parent. So just send me an email saying like, "Hey Felipe, interested in the program," or whatever, anything you want, really.
Okay, so let me do that now.
In the meantime, I'll
So
share.
yeah, I'm just going to my email on my phone, and I'm going to send your requests emails. So, okay, so I'm sending you an email, and all it says is, how do I know if my child is advancing as fast as they should be in your program? So I just sent that.
All right, so Zapier, um, in so Zapier allows you to just connect any types of tools together and just kind of like string them along like this and add some custom logic. And what's cool is you can also add like AI. So here we're using Anthropic.
Yeah. So just on Zapier, this is really interesting because Zapier's been around for a long time. Very successful company. I think they were bootstrapped forever, and until more recently, they may have raised some funding. But for a lot of people, we just know it as like oh, this is something that allows you to connect to other programs and like string together programs. But they've really, I mean, again, like what you're showing here is effectively like you're building software. It's just allowed you to build these like workflows It's this no code solution. You connect boxes together, and then you can basically build program logic, right? Like you're basically writing software, but by connecting boxes together.
100%. So much so that I know a few examples, and right now I'm thinking of specifically one founder that got their AI company off the ground running by having essentially like their software was Zapier. They had like, it was like a recruitment AI, like a hiring platform AI company, and like all their like software, all their like logic was happening on Zapier. And like obviously the customers didn't even know that, but that's a really good way to like validate your company. But yeah, so to your point, you can build a lot of cool things in here, and like you can get really complicated. Like some of my other Zaps, or I think they're called Zapier apps now, or Zap apps, are like crazy complicated. Like it's not just linear, like straight down. They like branch out and do all kinds of crazy things. But anyway, so this one is an email responder, meaning it drafts emails for me in Gmail. And yeah, Zapier connects to Gmail. So whenever I receive an email, every 2 minutes or so, this checks and sees, okay, have I received any new emails? It filters out any type of like promotional or transactional emails, like like receipts and things like that. It validates the email. This is optional, but there's a tool that does a good job at validating the email. And then here we filter out some more stuff. And then now we use AI. So this is actually interesting, right? So we take the email, we give it to the AI, and we ask it to filter it into prospective customers, parent customers, current customers, so current parents, prospective parents, and other. It could be just anybody reaching out. And then we essentially just tell the AI, hey, let us know which of these it is, and only respond by saying it's either a current parent or prospective parent or other. And then we have a little bit of an Airtable here with some emails that I've thrown in there. And I can just update this whenever I want with emails that I think are good or drafts that I really like.
And for people who are this is for people who are not who are just watching the audio version, obviously like check out the full video on Spotify or on YouTube. But what I wanted to say is this is really interesting because Felipe is showing this chart, and so whenever you get an email in Gmail, this workflow is activated. It filters some things out, so you're only responding to customer or like people who are looking for support. And what's really cool is you're feeding the email then that you receive to Anthropic's Claude, which is like a ChatGPT, and it is using its own, call it judgment, based on your prompt to determine if the person who's emailing you is a current customer or a prospective customer. And then based on that decision, you have an Airtable database that you're connecting to, which is like an online version of Excel, a little bit more complicated and programmer like.
But you could totally use Google Sheets or anything simpler.
Yeah. And then so in there, you have a whole bunch of great emails that you've written that are really good ways to respond. And this part's really interesting because I remember, Felipe, you were saying that when you respond to your customers who are parents who are obviously like very vested in the success of their children and they care a lot, like these aren't very like short and to the point. Like you really take great care to respond with a lot of compassion and care,
Yeah.
right? In writing these messages.
Yeah, 100%. For different industries, that will vary, obviously. For us, the relationship between us, the teachers, and us running the program, and the parents and the students is very important. So yeah, we communicate in depth. We talk a lot about the students' growth and what they're learning and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah. So we
So what I love about this is that imagine like you have the best possible way. Like say you have someone on your team who's written the greatest emails ever, in a customer support context. So you can take those emails, the best ones ever written, put that in the database, and the AI will mimic those ones so that every email response is just like the best one, regardless of whether the people on your team are grumpy that day, they're not feeling very eloquent that day. No matter what, it always is going to produce excellent, super high quality emails.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and actually we have a system like that just using a custom GPT. So we have one where anybody can feed in their emails. This one that I'm showing you right now with Zapier, this one's more like a personal one that I use myself, because obviously my style of emails as a CEO is like slightly different and often short and these types of things. But we do what you just described, which is we do have like a knowledge base of like how to communicate and best examples and even like notes and details about our students and all that stuff. So you can take this to whatever level you want, and we've done a bit of everything. This one is more like a personal Felipe responder with emails that my own emails. But you can definitely do and we have done what you just described as well. Um, so anyway, where were we? So yeah, so Zapier has all these steps, and what's really cool is to add Anthropic or to add like the LLM step. All I had to do was just click like add Anthropic and then put in some API keys. But I had to write no code, no programming. This is the code I wrote essentially, which says like, I just received this email. Help me determine what category, and here are the categories, and please only respond with one of the categories. Here's an example, you know. And then I connect the Google Sheet or the Airtable, and then I ask it to write an email here. And then here, essentially, we just grab the relevant emails from that Google Sheet or Airtable, and we just throw it in here, and we just say, hey, respond based on this. And also don't reveal any sensitive information. Actually, before I even had this, it would not reveal sensitive information, but I just threw this in here just in case anyway. And what's nice is, just as a reminder for anybody listening or watching this is just creating a draft. So this is not sending the email. I still like quickly skim through the email, or if I don't like it, I replace it or I add to it. So this is just creating a draft in my Gmail. This is not going to automatically send out anything. And then that's it. And then it creates the draft and everything.
And what is I also see, oh, and then if there is an error for any reason, it sends it to Slack, so you can be alerted about that.
Yeah, and I also receive a Slack DM, which I did. I just saw it a few minutes ago when after you sent the email, I saw that it said, "Hey, a draft is ready to go."
Yeah.
Just so I'm aware.
I mean, this is super interesting, right? So this means at 3 a.m. when you're sound asleep, or maybe you're a night owl, but say you're sound asleep, someone sends an email, and within 2 minutes, there's a perfectly drafted email message, ultra nice, with the best possible template, factoring in the information, and it's ready as a draft. So when you wake up in the morning, the draft is there, you read through it, and then you press send. And it's all done automatically thanks to this basically no-code stuff you put together through Zapier and using Anthropic, as the LLM. And this is something that everybody could do. So everybody today could basically go home and make it so that every single email that you get automatically has a draft written up in advance for you, right? So this is kind of like what AI can empower, and I think this is like really, really cool to see.
Yeah, and then so the email you sent me about like the student's parent growth, that's something that we would actually respond to, like the teacher would respond to using our other tool that has like the history of all the like, she has the information about your child and all these things. But let's just see what like my personal response like would come up with. So this is actually this is great. So this is based on previous emails that I've sent.
Wow, look at how comprehensive this email is.
Yeah, it's not bad. Obviously, like this one's not like our other tool would detect if you're a parent in our database, look up information about you, know how many classes you've attended, know what challenges you've recently done. Like it really knows quite a bit, and then suggest a email that's very tailored to your child and you. But this one makes sense for like an overview of sort of what's our philosophy about how we approach student growth. But it's obviously not specific feedback to you as a parent.
Yeah, but even so, like this basically starts you again. It does a lot of the work for you, and then maybe you're going to CC somebody else and say like, this person will give you a little bit more information about what you're looking for, but it does a whole bunch of the work for you. And so again, I just want to go back to this concept that Quest operates like a 50-person team, but with only a handful of people. And so these are some of the methods that you guys employ to be able to do that. And again, only possible now with AI.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so that was a great first one. And then you're working on, I mean, you've recently built this other really cool product that you wanted to show and tell too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just something that I created. if you look at my Replit right now, which Replit is a tool that allows you to build kind of like prototypes and software really quickly, there are like 20 little projects, most of them Quest related. Some of them are just like personal projects. And one thing that I'm really like passionate about is just personal growth, personal development. I've always wanted to have an executive coach, but executive coaches are really expensive. And as a bootstrap startup and founder, I've never really been able to justify the $300 or $400 an hour to pay for one. Although I am confident that it would actually be worth it, and I probably should. But I created this AI that is a executive coach, and at first I was just using ChatGPT, and I would often use it as kind of like a sounding board for ideas. But the problem with ChatGPT is it often there's a lot of problems, but one of the things is it always wants to give you advice. It's essentially trained to give you advice. And one thing that like coaches and good advisors do is they actually like ask you for what you think you should be doing, and they sort of help you clarify your thinking. And I tried to get ChatGPT to do that with me, but it didn't really work well. So I started building my own like AI. And I wanted to be able to just text with it because for whatever reason, I feel like I'm already using so many AI tools on my computer that I wanted to kind of have a different avenue to talk with this one. But then as soon as I was able to text with it, I got excited and I was like, wait, what if I could just call it? And so the AI right now, you mainly chat with it on the phone. You can text it. So let me open up my phone here. So I have, yeah, executive coach here. His name is Max. Actually, his name is Maximo, but he usually tells you, you can call him Max. And I can text with it. I can communicate with it like that, but we can call it. So I came up with a like fictitious scenario, which is that there is I have a new marketing employee. He's really eager, really good, but he wants to do this marketing mastermind, and it costs $15,000. And I don't know if to pay the $15,000 as a startup or if not. And obviously, I want this employee to be very motivated and continue being great. So I'm going to call it, and let's see how this goes. Hopefully, you can hear it on my microphone. I'm going to put it on
So,
speakerphone.
so this is really cool. Just for everybody, again, if you don't have the video, so Felipe literally built an executive, like basically executive coach as an app, so you can text with it, and you have been texting with it, and so now you've built a function so that you can actually call it and speak to it, and so you're just about to show us you calling this person.
Yeah, exactly. And it is an app, but the way I think some people will think that it's like a mobile app. I think it's better if it's not like a mobile app because we have so many mobile apps and so many tools. So the way I'm communicating with it is actually via like SMS text, like the same way I communicate with my friends or family. And then I'm going to call it to a phone number that I set up, like in the back end. But anyway, again, let's give it a call and see how this convo goes. I don't know how it'll go because this is like a fictitious conversation, but our like normal conversations have actually been very like useful and powerful. So let's see. Here we go. I'm calling.
Hey, Felipe. Great to see you again. Ready to pick up where we left off?
Yes. How are you doing, Maximo? Can you remind me what we were chatting about last time we chatted?
Sure thing, Felipe. We were discussing whether to invest $15,000 in a marketing mastermind program for a new employee, balancing that with Quest's financial constraints. Shall we dive back into it?
Yes, let's. So I still haven't made a decision. And yeah, like not much has happened since we chatted last. I'm still kind of weighing if to spend that money, which it's a lot of money, but I also really obviously want to invest in this employee. And I really believe that this employee could be really great for Quest and could grow a lot.
Got it. What do you think would be the biggest benefit of investing in this program for your employee?
I think it's just he would feel like really motivated, and he would just feel like even at an early, like even though he just joined the company, we're already investing in him and already believing in him. And I think I could just create kind of like downstream effects of him being very motivated and yeah, being with us maybe long term.
That sounds promising. How do you think that motivation could impact Quest's growth?
Oof, that's a great question. I will have to think about that more, Maximo. All right, I gotta go right now, but I'll chat with you later, okay?
No worries, Felipe. Looking forward to our next chat. Take care.
All right, cool.
So I want to say that was really cool. That was so cool. And if you squint a little bit, it sounded like it was an actual person that you were talking to. It's really, really awesome.
Thank you. And actually, this is the like less realistic version. So I've maybe like went a little too crazy on this, but I've built 3 different types now. So one with like 11 Labs is this company that built this thing called a conversational AI agent that allows you to sort of build this thing more easily. We built that. Then this one is built with OpenAI's Real-Time API, which is essentially using OpenAI. And so the reason we moved to Real-Time API is because the 11 Labs one is a little too constrained. It doesn't really allow you to have past memories of previous conversations and things like that. I think for security reasons. Then we moved over to Real-Time API, which has some more flexibility, but it's still not good enough for what I want, and specifically for the realness of it. 11 Labs has like over 10,000 or 50,000 voices, and they just do a really good job at being able to communicate, or like it just sounds very human. So now I built like a custom whole setup where it's like all like custom built, and then at the end it uses the 11 Labs voice, but not their actual like agent. So this is the real-time one, which the problem I have with it is it doesn't sound realistic enough. But so thanks for saying it sounds good, but the latest one sounds even better. It's just I'm still working out some of the kinks.
Yeah. So again, so this is super cool. You can call this executive coach Max, at 3 a.m. Yeah, whenever. They're always going to be ready. They have perfect memory. They can recall everything. It really, again, this is kind of the stuff that's possible. And so just to give us, like, you talked about 11 Labs, you've talked about the OpenAI real-time library. And what else like went into this? Like, did you use a lot of AI in writing this product too?
Yeah. So the first version where you could just text with it and it would respond to you, I built on Replit in like an hour, which was kind of mind blowing that it was working well. And because it's different when it's like a website or like an app than when you're texting with it. I haven't really built things where you're texting or calling things, so it was shocking to me how quickly that was built. Then, in order to build the like phone capabilities and all of that, we moved over to Cursor, and that's a ton of AI help. And even just to understand, remember earlier I was talking about using screenshots and to figure out apps. I had never used the like tool that's called Twilio that allows you to connect with essentially like phone numbers or texting or phone calls. I'd never used that before. So I quite literally gave a lot of screenshots to ChatGPT asking it to guide me through how to set things up. And then things got crazy. I mean, these like latest versions, a lot of stuff is going into them. Like one thing that has been like fascinating to me is the idea of like memory for AI, and like how closely like that actually resembles real human memory. So a lot of the way we give AI's memories is like rooted in cognitive science it's pretty amazing. Like you're essentially like giving it long-term memory that is like sort of like a fuzzy version of like the more recent memory. But then there's also these like core memories, these like things called entities, which are things that like you remember for sure because it's something really valuable and important. So at this point, things are getting more complicated and more sophisticated, and there's like some real engineering happening. But it's crazy how quickly we're able to have something that works without any engineering, without any like coding, really.
Yeah. And what's most exciting about this for me is that this is all this kind of stuff is possible, and hopefully what it does for everybody is give you ideas of things that you could build. Like you think about building some basically a local, like an internal company help desk type situation, so that you could call and ask it questions. Like that could be one use case. You could have a hotline that you're building for customers. You could do all sorts of things. Like creativity is infinite here on what you could do. And it's really cool to see that you were able to do that and even build the first prototype. And of course, it can get more complex later, but build the first prototype of something that you could text within an hour. Like that's really cool. And what I wanted to say for everybody is, so this show, I mean, hopefully you're watching it on video, but if not, hopefully we did a good job of kind of walking through it. But what's really important is if you really want to get the content, the links, and a little bit more of a detailed walkthrough, of what Felipe showed us, just subscribe to our newsletter. Just go to thisnewway.com and subscribe to the newsletter. And so in the newsletter, we'll give you a bunch more details on what are the workflows that were offered, what were the tools that were used, so that you could try these things for yourself, but also send it to your teams so that they too can start doing things in this new way. Felipe, this was great. So wanted to just wrap up with a few questions. One is, what are you most excited about, thinking about 2025 and beyond? Like, is there any sort of AI development or something that you're looking forward to?
Yeah. Before I forget, you're actually the one that has been encouraging me to maybe get some like test users or people to try out this executive coach. So I did put up a landing page, like a website. It's Meet Maximo, so like meetmaximo.com. Feel free to sign up. You can try out the AI executive coach.
Oh, that's so cool. Sorry, I'm typing this at meetmaximo.com. Okay, cool.
And all you need to put is like your phone number and name, and then it will give you a call, and it's all that.
Everybody should check this out. We'll also include this in the newsletter as well. But yeah, this is awesome. So yeah, people should try it out. And like, if I guess they can give you feedback on the website, but how do they also find you if they want to interact with you? And if they want to sign up, if they want to message you, what should they do?
Yeah, you can, 3 things. You can email me at felipe@joinquest.com. So that's my email. You can follow me or message me or DM me on Twitter or x.com now. My handle is at Felipe IZQ, which is the start of my last name. Or you can just find me on LinkedIn, Felipe Izquierdo. I'm sure you can find me.
Cool. Okay, so this is something to be excited about. Maybe this is the thing.
I think it's actually related. So the thing I'm becoming more and more excited about is just voice as a UI UX. And also, I think as AI becomes better and better and people trust AI more and more, I actually think there will be more situations where you just let the AI do some work and kind of come back to you with the finished product. There's already some tools like Devin, which is an AI software engineer, that you communicate with it on Slack. And you just tell it, hey, there's a bug in our app. Could you go fix it? And then it goes off and like works for 20, 30 minutes and then comes back. And it only comes back to ask you questions, or it comes back with like, hey, the PR is sent, meaning the work is done. You need to review it. And I think more and more that's going to be the case for more things. And what excites me is that as that happens, I would love to live in a world where I can just have I can be on a walk or be out and about and have a couple phone calls with my few AIs, and they're doing things, they're managing things, they're getting work done. And then maybe when I'm on my computer next, I kind of review things, I give a few okays, and then that work is done. And I think also like having AIs to help kind of like teams work better will be really powerful. I mean, obviously Fellow is like the expert in that, but like the idea of like a chief of staff or kind of communication that's AI assisted will be really powerful. I don't know what that looks like, but there could be definitely something along the lines of like, sometimes I want to message something to another employee, but like I feel like they're busy or they're in like in a flow state and I don't want to bother them. Maybe I can kind of message my AI and their AI can kind of, like figure out when is the right time to exchange that information. And I think a lot more is going to become kind of real voice or like the way we interface with other employees and humans is the way we're going to interface with AI. And I think that makes it much more enjoyable, much easier, and much less, typing, shoulders forward sitting work.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I fully agree. It's really cool just thinking about what the future holds, and we're talking about this year. We're not even talking about multiple years yet. So, and who else? Like, is there anybody that you would recommend we bring on the podcast? Maybe it's someone maybe it's someone that you would like to see on the show. Who comes to mind?
The homies that are at YC right now, Josh and Leo, are awesome. I think especially right now, being surrounded by the entire YC crew, they probably have all kinds of crazy insights and knowledge. You met Suk. He was at the event. He's awesome. He's built like 30 products in the last year or two, just like a builder through and through. And then obviously Hai. There's a few people that, think about and are kind of like inside of the AI world deeper than he is.
Cool. That's awesome. That's awesome. And so, yeah, I mean, this has been super insightful. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Two really awesome shows and tells. We're gonna include the links, and then obviously everybody should go out and go to meetmaximo.com and try, modern AI, AI powered executive coach, and give you feedback there. But thanks so much for doing this. This was amazing, an amazing conversation.
No, thank you so much. And I guess like we're talking lots about Maximo, but before I go, I can't not say if you have kids 8 to 12 and they like games, they like learning, join Quest is my main thing. Quest is my main company, and we spend so much time making these games amazing. And anyway, if you have kids 8 to 12, check out joinquest.com. We will make sure that they have an amazing time and learn a lot.
All right. And you know that if you send Felipe an email, he will respond very quickly.
2 minutes max.
All right. Thanks, Felipe. This was awesome. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
And that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of This New Way. If you like the content, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe so you can get notified when we post the next episode. See you next time.